Okay, video number 3 of 3 for data cleaning in R using the dplyr library. We've been working away at this Tour de France data set. We've got things pretty darn clean at this point. We've stripped off all sorts of things that are not numbers. We've changed some data types. We've removed the world wars. We've removed columns that we didn't like. Lots of good stuff has happened here. What we're going to talk about this time is Mutate, which is the tool we're going to use to add new columns to a data frame. Summarize and GroupBy so we can actually get some statistics out of a data frame, and then arrange so we can arrange things. So here we go. Let's build 3 new columns. Now you can do this in a couple different ways in R, but I want to stick with the dplyr way to do this. It takes a little bit more typing than kind of native R. Like if you're going to add a new column, you can do variable name, $, and then just new column name and gets, and actually just have it build it. But for the readability and for the sake of consistency with dplyr, here's how we're going to do it. 2 or 6 is going to be my new data frame. It's going to take in 2 or 5, which is the previous data frame that I had. I'm going to pipe that to a mutate command. So now notice this looks just like select, it looks just like filter, it looks just like rename, it looks just like separate. All of those things are the same. There's a deep consistency here. That's the point of the dplyr package. Mutate wants us to give the new column name, so I'm going to just do total time is the new column name, and then just a way to calculate the new column. In this case, it's really just arithmetic for me. So I'm going to take hours plus minutes over 60 plus seconds over 3600, because hours, minutes, and seconds were the things that I had. I dealt with them already. Let's see, I also want to build a rate in kilometers per hour, so I'll do rate kph is equal to, by the way, notice I'm not using the arrow here, I'm using the equal. Inside these functions, the equal sign is the preferred thing to do. The arrow will actually freak it out, it's not going to know what to do. We're not doing a variable assignment, we're actually building something inside a data frame. Alright, so the kilometers per hour, that means I need the distance in kilometers divided by the total time. And the rate, miles per hour, is the distance in miles per hour divided by total time. Okay, so this should add 3 new columns. So 2 or 6 should have 3 columns tacked on to the end. Let's see what it does. Control Enter. Okay, it ran error-free, which is lovely. Let's look at 2 or 6, and sure enough, 3 new columns added onto the end. So again, you can do this in other ways in R, but for consistency in the way that you're doing data cleaning, the mutate command allows you to have the same format for select, for filter, for all of those other things we've done. Plus it allows you to stack all of them. So I could have done a select command, a separate command, another select command, then a mutate command, all together in one place. Okay, let's move on from there. Let's do some summary statistics. This is really the last thing we're going to do. I want the average and the standard deviation of the rates, let's just say in miles per hour, it doesn't matter, for each of the individual countries. Now imagine this. I've got to go through the countries, so if I want all of the France, I need to get all of the France together first, then do the average. So I could build a France data set that does a filter and says, here's all of my French writers, and then do another filter and pull out all my Belgian writers and so on and so forth. Boy, that seems like I could build a data frame for every country, but that's awfully complicated. Check this out. This is wonderful. Let's see here. Let's call this tour stats. It's going to take my most recent one in, which was 2 or 6. I'm going to pipe that to. Now, there's 2 commands that you usually use in conjunction with each other. The GroupBy command really does nothing to the data frame. It's a behind-the-scenes act where if I say group_by and I tell it country and then pipe that somewhere else, it's going to say whatever you do next is going to be organized by country. That's awesome in this case. Because the next thing I'm going to do is a summarize. And what it's going to say is, all right, according to these groups, then do some summary statistics. So in this case, I'll say my rate mean is the mean of rate MPH. My rate standard deviation is the standard deviation of rate MPH. And just for the sake of seeing how many riders in each of these countries, I'll say my country count is N. Now N's a little bit of a funky one. N will actually just count how many things are in there. Okay, now if I run that, I built a new data frame called tour stats. Well, let's look at what tour stats looks like. Look at this. It's got Australia, Belgium, Colombia, Denmark, da-da-da-da-da. And it's got the mean, the standard deviation, and the country count for all of them. Now, a few are NAs on the standard deviation. That's because there's one country there, and there is no standard deviation. So that's pretty cool. It doesn't have them listed in order, so we can pipe this one more time to an arrange command. And you just want to tell it what you're going to arrange by. It seems like I would want to arrange by maybe the mean. So if I did rate mean, let's look at it down here. So if I run it and then just throw it to the command line. Okay, it arranged it by the rate mean. It looks like it arranged it in ascending order. If I wanted to go the opposite direction, let's just do minus the rate mean. Run it. I threw it to the command line here. Now I'm going in descending order. So now I actually have some kind of summary stats where I can compare all of the countries. And I've got a nice data frame that does it. Remember, if you had wanted to do this just from what we had before, from 2 or 6, you would have had to go through and select all of the individual countries, put them in a data frame, then do your averaging and your standard deviation and your counting, do that for the next country, and so on. That's really cumbersome and not so efficient. This is much better. Now, I'm going to claim I'm done right now with the Tour de France data. I could do a ton more to it, but hopefully these 3 videos have given you kind of an overview of the things you can do with the dplyr tools. And remember, if I go all the way back to the beginning here, you have to load the library dplyr, or you can load the library tidyverse, which has dplyr and ggplot and a few other things all embedded inside. All of the select, mutate, filter, all of that stuff is inside there. This is the best way that I've found to do data management in R. So I highly recommend that this is the way that you start adopting to do your data management. It takes a lot of time to get used to these commands. Just setting up these 3 videos probably took me 2 hours of fiddling with, like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. This is an iterative process. Don't be afraid to play. Have fun.